They're counting on you. Against all odds, we've made it this far. But we both know that the old ways aren't going to work this time. This journey has changed us, changed you. But it's not over yet. You need the right tools for the job. There's somewhere we need to go. It's been shrouded for so long, there won't be any path for us to follow. The only person who knew the way is gone. But in my dreams, I swear, I've seen it. The mist-shrouded hills, the forgotten halls, the dungeon that never ends. It's like we've been there before, like this story is already a part of ours, like it's waiting for us at the edge of our imagination. That is where our journey begins. Hello, hello, hello. It has been a while. Sweeper, welcome in. Twitter RA, welcome in. Good to see you. Magister Warjoma, hello, hello. Blaze, always a pleasure. How's it been? It's been like 2 weeks since I've been live. I tell you what, I got sick with like a double whammy, and it knocked me on my ass, and I was not able to stream. Really, it's probably for the good of everybody that I was not doing stuff. But I see I don't have sound coming through, which is interesting because I'm trying to play music. I'm trying to play music that you guys can hear. Crispy DM, how's it going? Welcome in. How are you? Maybe that? Nope. I'm just figuring out how to stream again. But how have y'all's weeks been? How is everything? Tell me all about. Oh, there we go. And let me know if that's too loud. Cassiopeia, welcome in. How's it going? Hello, hello. I don't know. It's been like eventful, but in a way where I feel like I've done nothing, but I was busy all day. You know what I mean? It was a day full of like emails and like editing some stuff and just all sorts of like kind of crazy stuff. Got a new project car, started a new side job. What is a project car? I assume that's a car that you're gonna like work on. Is that correct? Tell me about it, and tell me about your side job. That's cool. Eagerly awaiting my Reforged bundle to arrive on Wednesday. Dude, I'm so excited for you. Let us know how it is. I am psyched for Reforged. I think that like, I mean, really just like the whole team was so excited to put out Reforged and just to like work on it and like see these books better. Not that they weren't great, but like just to get the chance to really revisit them and scrub through them and like make some changes. I think the layout is so much better, just in particular. But yeah, I hope you love them. Dougal Dub, hello. I'm running my first ever CNC campaign and it's the Undying War. Dude, you're... Shit, sorry. I drummed on my armrests and the dog got excited. You're living my dream right now. I want to run the Undying War so bad. Tell me everything. Have you had your first session yet? How many players? Tell me all of it. I want to hear it. Have you been to the Upper Peninsula? No, I still haven't. I work and I sleep and I work out and I go outside with my dog and I do it all within like a 5-mile radius of where I live, and I've been very bad. You know, like the great thing about working a remote job is that you have so much. You had one job. Oh, I know. You have so much freedom to travel and I haven't used it at all. A car that I will make faster. Ooh, it's an old Lexus GS 300. And I'm back to building audio and security systems for extra cash. That's awesome. Do you remember when you said in Chat Plays CNC the Daytona 500 and I thought it was a car and it's a race and everyone with a brain knows that it's a race, and I 150% thought that it was like the Ford F-150, the Daytona 500, the Chevy when you say something on the internet, it sticks around forever. So if you're ignorant, you're also very loud. The Gaming Gang did some reviews on Reforged. I bought it right after. Well, hell yeah, man. We love the Gaming Gang. Jeff is a buddy. Thank you. I appreciate it. Get you a man who will bring you coffee at 8 p.m. at night.
Nothing like a good night coffee.
There's nothing like a good night coffee. It was the exact race where Dale passed. Who's Dale? We have 4 players and they're all psyched. We did our session 0 and it's going great. I love how CNC leaves so much room for me as a CK. That's really the thing. I am also, so we're having the same experience right now. I'm also running my first game. It's a homebrew adventure, but rather than like a module like the Undying War, but that's the thing that I've been really surprised by, because I come from the 5e world, right, where like the writing is, it's Hasbro WotC writing. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, it's just a specific type of like instruction that you receive in the book, where everything that you can and cannot do is really specifically outlined, and the word choice is really specific, and if there's ever any doubt about like what your characters are allowed to do or whatever, you consult the wording. And if the wording says that it's like not allowed or that it is allowed, then that's what you go with. With CNC, it's all recommendations and it's all modular and it's all imaginative. So you can just like take shit out and replace it with other stuff and it's just fine. I love it. And honestly, I don't really want to go back to playing any other type of way, I think, now that I've gotten started with CNC. The greatest driver in history, Dale Earnhardt. Okay. Dale Earnhardt died on the Daytona 500. Dale Earnhardt. Was an American professional stock car driver and racing team owner who raced from 1975 to 2001, most notably driving the number 3 Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing. The NASCAR president Mike Helton confirmed Earnhardt's death in a statement to the press. An autopsy conducted on February 19th, 2001 concluded that Earnhardt sustained a fatal basilar skull fracture. Jesus. Great stash, though. 10 out of 10 stash. Very good mustache. 5e is boring like that. A game that tells you what to do. Ugh. Get CNC. You would tell you what to do. I would go with Richard Petty for the greatest driver ever. Blasphemy. Fight about it. Fight. We'll have you two battle, and whoever wins, that's the better driver. We like how CNC characters aren't superheroes. It takes strategy, teamwork, ingenuity, and a fair amount of luck. There's a real sense of peril, and that makes it more fun. You hit the nail on the head. Exactly. That is, like, the thing that we kind of got sick with in 5e was feeling like, I don't know, man. After, like, level 7. Nick just said level 3 or 5. Like, I don't know, pretty early on, it's a little bit tough to really give your players a challenge. And, like, not everyone holds this opinion. I'm of the opinion that, like, the game is not just, like, trying to kill players. And the game is about, like, telling a good story. But I think that as a player, struggling really hard to accomplish something is part of the thing that, like, makes for a good story. So if I feel like I'm just one roll away from death the entire time, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want, because that makes a really good story. And also, too, if you're the type of game master that really wants to kill players, then you're gonna have an awesome time and kill a lot of players, and it'll be great. Richard Petty, the Man in Black, #1 forever. Here's my question, Proxima. What's the stash like? What kind of stash are we working with? Let's see. Richard Petty. Oh, okay. Okay. Hang on. Let me see if I can... Wait. Hang on, because I also want to be involved here. Hang on one second. I'm turning on my camera. But I have to remove the source. And then I have to add it back. There we go. Hey. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is Richard Petty. Pretty good stash. Right? That's pretty good. Dale Earnhardt, though. Look at that. I don't know. It's like, it's sharp. You know what I mean? Richard Petty has, like, the width, and it's, like, nice and bushy. But Dale Earnhardt has the taper. There's more finesse. I don't know. The results are inconclusive. Wait. They don't have to be. Wait. Someone needs to take polling away from me. Richard Petty. Okay. Cast your votes now. This is a conclusive poll. The results are official. Hey, Savage, welcome in. And Chaos, welcome in. 7 to 12 is kind of the good spot. That's why Baldur's Gate 3 made it their cutoff. Yeah. Makes sense. Super makes sense. They would have had to start, like, the cutting out, like, certain abilities and stuff, I think. And he wore a cowboy hat. Wait, who? Which one? Which team are you? Richard Petty. I mean, he's pretty sharp. He is pretty sharp. Raise hell, praise Dale. No one will ever be better than the Intimidator. Is he called the Intimidator? All stashes are porn stashes. See, that's the mindset that we like to see. Every stash can be a porn stash if you just make porn about it, I guess. The Omega, Gambit, welcome in. Tell Chuck to read his Discord DMs. Dude, I will, but here's the thing. Chuck has been swamped. Chuck has been so swamped. We've all been swamped, really, but Chuck in particular. I will tell him. And I'm so sorry on behalf of literally everybody. If you have emailed product support, we're getting there. Look at Grace getting a NASCAR education. I'm getting a PhD in NASCAR right now. I feel like I'm learning everything. Do you guys have any like cool NASCAR stories? What happened? So, okay. What happens at NASCAR? I know you're like watching cars like go around the track. And like, I don't know, I get the excitement of like your guy winning. And the like, whoop, who's gonna pull out in first? Who's gonna do it? Car go fast, make brain go burr, right? But like, does anything else, are there any like interesting NASCAR stories? Is there drama? Is there like theater like with wrestling? Are there like different drivers that are like, some of them are the heel and some of them are the like the opposite of the heel? What happens in NASCAR stays in NASCAR. What happens at NASCAR goes too fast for you to see. They turn left. Sick. Has anyone seen Zoolander? I thought that bit was so funny where he like can't turn left. He's not an ambi-turner. I think that's such a funny bit. I can't turn left. I can't do it. I can only go right. Can't go left. Heel and face. Thank you, Savage. Quite so. CNC has that inbuilt freedom rules lightness, which gives great leeway for gaming groups to shape the system into their particular preferred idiom. What more could you really ask for? What more indeed? What more indeed? I don't know. I love a game that just gives you all of the material that you could possibly ever want and tells you to use as much or as little of it as you want. There are lots of rules in CNC that I just don't follow. And technically that's fine. Legally, according to the books, canonically, it's okay. Hey, playing some games. And DM Jeremy, welcome in. How are you guys doing tonight? How's everything? 200 miles per hour of death-defying slight left turns. That's how I want to live, you know? Paladin, welcome in. How's it going? Like all the encumbrance ones. So my boyfriend Nick is super into the encumbrance rules. I am not, but I respect like the immersion of it, because I think that it does add an element of immersion to have to think about like what you're carrying, to have to think about like taking it, like I don't know, you can't carry everything that you're carrying into like a dungeon or something, for instance, and you can't take like your mount into the dungeon, you know, like if you have a mount or a horse or a wagon or whatever, I don't know, like thinking about what you're carrying and where you're carrying it, and if you have a pack big enough, and like I think I could learn to love that. I just don't want to run it for the first time. Festival atmosphere. More like festival, am I right? Sorry, I'll log off. Stream's over. Thank you all for coming.
make sure to smash that unsubscribe and dislike button. Don't share with friends or family. Take your computer and chuck it into the nearest hole, and walk away. But anyway, festival atmosphere, the smell of gasoline, the smallest mistake, and you're in the wall. What doesn't it have? You're telling me that the smallest mistake could lead to my entire face going two-dimensional? I'm into it. I think you have to drive really fast a few times to appreciate the skill those guys need to overtake each other and control a car at that speed. That actually, like, unlocked a memory for me. And it's, like, not pleasant. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. Forever ago, years and years and years ago. This is not anybody that's, like, on the internet. But, oh my God. I haven't like talked about this. I dated someone like many years ago, and with the purpose of like, in order to menace me, he was driving my car and he drove it like 90 to 100 miles per hour on this like gravel county road to menace me. And I really felt like it would say thank you so much. It really felt like the smallest mistake would have us like in the corn, under the corn, into and under a lot of farmland. So I can understand that. By the way, Grace, I've purchased the Codex of Aihrde because I've been enjoying your reading so much. Tell Steven you did good. Dougal, thank you. I really appreciate that. I love doing these. I've been doing it for, I think, 3 years now. 2 or 3 years. And it's still consistently like my favorite part of every week, and I love Aihrde. I love the world of Aihrde. Sometimes on these Monday streams we have Steve here with us. He hasn't been here in a while, and won't be tonight, but he'll be back at some point. And we do like an AMA about Aihrde, and it's super duper fun. And it's cool to talk about it with Steve, who wrote the entire setting, because then like my questions get answered too, so it rocks. But thank you so much. This world is really, really cool. I really care about it. And like, thank you for hanging out and listening. It makes a really big difference when people hang out. So thank you. Can I bring Steve a Dr. Pepper cooler at GaryCon? I wanted to give him it for his office. I think that would probably indebt Steven Chenault to you for life, if I'm not mistaken. You should definitely do that. When you say Dr. Pepper cooler, do you mean like a cooler specifically for Dr. Pepper? Or do you mean like a Dr. Pepper branded cooler? Because both of those are awesome. Molly Hatchet's Flirtin' with Disaster sums up NASCAR pretty well. That's such a good song. I listened, man, Molly Hatchet, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. I think the last time I listened to Molly Hatchet, I think high school. I think my senior year of high school. What I would do is I would go to Barnes & Noble and I would get Rock Sound magazine. And they always had like a mixed CD with the Rock Sound magazine. And so I would like take those CDs and I would put it in my car because I didn't have like a audio jack. I just had like the CD drive. So I would like play the Rock Sound like mix CDs. And there was like, I think it was Flirtin' with Disaster. And it was on one of those CDs, and I played the shit out of that. It was awesome. That and the Menzingers. All Rock Sound. Encumbrance. I try to find the balance between common sense and spreadsheet avoidance. Yeah, that's really it. I think that like if you can, so I still don't like fully get it, but the way that Nick explained it, you can kind of view it like a character screen in like a video game, like your loadout, and imagining it that way, like visually, is super helpful. I could not, if you give me a spreadsheet, I'm done. Spreadsheets just passively do damage to me, and if I look at one for too long, my eyes start to glaze over, and not a great time. I just want to talk to him on tonight's chat. Past relationships. Let's dish. Let's talk about our relationships. My boyfriend brings me night coffee. That's a pretty good one. As for encumbrance, my last regular GM liked to use precious metal trade bars instead of piles of coins to get us players to make interesting choices. That sounds really fun. That sounds super fun. Man, we're recording something to release later on Twitch and on YouTube, and I'm very excited about it because I get to be a player. But we're recording a little actual play, and it's gonna be awesome. I've seen a little bit of the first episode, and it's so good. I'm so excited for it to come out. But in this like actual play, I received. I think this isn't a spoiler to share an item that I got. It's like a robe of many things, which is an item in CNC, which is the perfect item for me. Because I'm that player that, like, I'm going to use the objects in my backpack more than I'm going to use, like, my weapons in combat most of the time. And it's so much fun. And so any choice, like, any time that you can get players to, like, get weird little, like, off-color things in their inventory, big fan. Big fan. Creative nonsense items are great. Exactly. Yeah. The script thing lets you world build and makes players chase down the value of them, and also you can inject side quests, etc. Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. How long have you been running games, Chaos? CNC is really the first system where I've used encumbrance rules because the rules make sense. I'm not being a rules Yahtzee about it, but I'm having them recalculate periodically in camp or town. See, like, that is such a good mindset, I feel like, because no matter how like crunchy your rule is, if you make it like understandable and intuitive and like easy enough to use, I feel like people will do, like, you know, people will do it, and some people won't, and that's fine. But like the thing that makes something like crunchy, I don't know, it doesn't have to be crunchy. Maybe this is like a nonsense sort of statement, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of stuff like encumbrance rules and like certain types of like skill trees. And I was talking to somebody about like Pathfinder recently, and like if you just, I don't know, you can structure it different and have the same rule and the same mechanic and just like give it like an intuitive structure that's not crazy for someone like myself who learns by like watching or doing rather than reading. Because I think that sometimes if you have like you know, pages of explanation for a rule, like that's super tough. But like, yeah, if it's just easy to understand, like, I think what I'm trying to get at is that like the mechanics themselves aren't crunchy. It's like the wording that makes them crunchy, maybe. But then again, I'm not the most experienced like game master, so I don't know if that's true across the board. That's just kind of like my own experience with it. I'll be driving from Amarillo, Texas to get to Lake Geneva next month. It'll be my first road trip on my own. Yes! Does that mean we're going to see you at Gary Con? I'm very excited. It's going to be so much fun. Gary Con is always such a good time. We're always like so excited to go. And this time, so the booth crew is going to meet us in Michigan, and we're going to have like a big slumber party, and then we're all going to road trip there together. And usually it's just Nick and I, but this time it's going to be four like chaos gremlins in the car together, so we're going to see how it goes. But I think it's going to be fun. Like 1980. A good year. I was not born. I like my granola bars non-crunchy. That is to say, get bacon. That makes me think of that scene from Napoleon Dynamite where he has like tater tots in his pocket, and someone in his class is like, "Give me your tots," and he's like, "No." They're like, "Give me your tots." And he's like, "I'm not gonna give you my tots." Or at least that's how I remember it. I take all the furniture and put it in my inventory. Oh, no, you don't. Just don't accidentally put them in your pocket sand pocket. Yeah. Your pocket bacon pocket and your pocket sand pocket need to be like different sides of the body, you know? One's port, the other's starboard. Take regular breaks. Coffee only works after you wake up, and it ain't a race, so don't treat it as such. Yeah. You gotta just like take it slow when you're road tripping. If you're like in a hurry, you're not gonna have a good time because it's a road trip. You're not gonna be there for hours and hours and hours. So if you're like, I don't know, like tailgating people and like, I don't know, that's just a recipe to like ruin your own time. Nick just said from the kitchen, it's about the journey, brother. It really is. How many items can a Dr. Pepper's cooler hold? Oh god, do I remember the CNC encumbrance rules off the top of my head? Let's call it an EV7.
So capacity items.
Nick is coming up the stairs. Nick is coming up the stairs to talk about it. Will you talk about it? Come here. We're talking about a Dr. Pepper cooler. How many Dr. Peppers could it hold?
So there are rules, I believe, in the player's handbook on how to like adjudicate the capacity of a container.
Yeah. It's the equipment value.
Yeah. Like, so for instance, so each item has an equipment value.
Each item?
Each item has an equipment value, but capacity items have like their capacity. So for instance, like...
So a capacity item won't have an EV.
Well, it will, because like the item itself still weighs something. But like a standard backpack in CNC is, I think it's 2 EV, but it's 8 capacity.
Oh.
So the EV, so it has 8 slots.
Okay.
And the items that occupy that slot
cannot exceed,
can basically go up to 1 less than the capacity. So you could have 7 EV items in your backpack.
Oh.
Just for instance. Yeah. But you only count the 2 EV of the backpack.
Right. So you're not like overburdened with EV everything.
Yeah, so
so once you put an item,
7 times 8 is 56. So you're getting 56 EV for the price of 2, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
And your EV is determined by your strength, I think.
And an item's EV disappears once you put it in your backpack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That was comprehensive.
I love encumbrance and inventory management, and CNC, like, I hated it in D&D, never used it.
Yeah, it wasn't intuitive. It was weird.
It tries to be like a simulation where you're like worried about the pounds and like that kind of stuff.
Fuck that.
Whatever. I'm playing a game.
Yeah, we want it to be fun.
The Siege Engine's like gamification, and like it makes sense in my head. Like, I have 8 slots, and I can fill that with something up to 7 EV.
Proxima Rising says, do not constipate your bag of holding.
That's good advice.
Do not do that. Thank you, Professor Nog.
I love EV.
We are all now proud PhD holders of encumbrance.
I just
EV1.
Playing the game where somebody uses it.
Yeah. Well, run a game and use it.
Well, but I'm the only one that likes it.
If I was like in a survival horror game, I'd appreciate that level of bookkeeping, but it's just dungeon running. Nah, that's just me though. Yeah. Like survival horror where you have to really think about it.
It is my argument that dungeon delving is survival horror.
Also a fair point. Super true.
Stuff gets crazy weird.
There is nothing scarier than being in like a dungeon underground.
Down in the dark.
Are you serious?
Like
fucking miss me. That sounds terrible.
Like take I mean, look at, for instance, like look at how popular, like what's that new game, Shadow Dark.
Yeah.
Like,
Shadow Dark is super cool.
People care about like the light mechanic, and it adds
Yeah.
that element to it.
It's so scary.
Measuring light, 10 candles.
10 candles. Oh my god. We gotta talk about 10 candles. We don't sell it. It's not a TLG game, so.
Oh, well, maybe we can do that on Wednesday or something.
Yeah. But man, oh man. Dude, being in a dungeon sounds terrible.
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
And there's all kinds of like slithering and grabbing and
Ugh.
biting and
No.
monsters
You're
sniveling around in there.
You're 50 feet under the ground in conditions with no light. It's cold. Everything's dark. Sounds echo for like miles underground, and like out of nowhere a kobold,
Dude, yeah, anything
slimes
honestly,
itself out of the walls and shoots you with a crossbow. No,
like,
that's so scary.
put me anywhere in the dark, and like even like a like what is your most basic like monster?
Yeah, goblin or any no, something running at you down a long hallway in the darkness. No
Just
thanks.
full tilt.
That's so scary. Arms windmilling. He's holding a sword. Just in total darkness. That sucks.
And he can see and you can't.
Oh no! And don't even get me started on rocky crags and like holes in the ground.
Don't even get me started.
Don't
on
even
a
get me
rocky
started
crag.
on traps and rocky falls down into like sub caves and like tight spaces and all sorts. Davis Chenault.
Spelunking is terrifying. I just stopped.
Yeah.
Like at some point it hit me like, oh, I could just be stuck in here and no one would ever find me.
Big problem.
And I was just done.
Yeah, no. Davis Chenault has the most horrifying story about being stuck in a cave. And I don't know when next I'm going to be on a stream with Davis Chenault, so I'm just going to tell the story as he told it on his behalf, which I'm not going to tell it half as well as he could. But he was spelunking in a cave with a good friend. And like there was like a hole in the ground that was like sort of like low to the ground and kind of a tight squeeze, but like it clearly led somewhere. So Davis was like, I'm going to squeeze in there and see what's on the other side. So he goes in and then his friend goes in after him. And like Davis is crawling through this really tight space and he gets to like the end of it and it's just like a dead end. And he's like, okay, it's a dead end. Like, let's go backwards. And his friend fucking is like, no, I think I think I want you to hang out in here a little while. I'm just going to stay put. And so Davis starts freaking out, as you would when you're like surrounded on all sides by solid rock and you can't get out because your friend is like blocking your way out and it's just dark. And he starts like kicking his friend in the face and eventually they get out. But God, that's so scary. I'm always ready. My man purse has light, medical supplies, and a pew. Drop me in a dungeon. He's got a dungeoneering pack. A Dungeoneer's pack. That's why The Descent is such a good movie. Ugh.
Have you seen that?
No, but I have a good idea of what it's about. That sounds so scary.
We should watch it.
No. Oh my God. It's about people who get stuck in a cave.
Well, I'll watch it and you can read the synopsis.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's how I get my sick thrills. If I dub a movie like too scary for me, which is most movies, I like just look up the synopsis on Wikipedia and just read about what happens. Cheap thrills, my sick enjoyment. Hey, Agile Monk, welcome in. Life is grand. I hope it is for you as well. How's it going? Thank you for the lesson.
Oh my God, yeah. Did I leave my guy over here?
I don't think so.
Well.
Watch the first one. The sequel you can skip. Good to know. Very good to know. Do you like murder mystery TV shows? I don't. So I'm finding that like I don't watch a lot of TV, but I could be into it. I could be into a murder mystery. Which show? Hanging in There sounds about right. It's a really busy time. Shit's a little crazy. Shit is a little bit crazy right now. I'm not a very good social media manager right now. I have like no posts. Like on our social media because I've just been working on other things. So we gotta like work super hard and get caught up this week. Should be doable. We'll see. But I think that it's maybe about time. Hey, Chaotic Grandpa and Beaky Ma, welcome in. How's it going? Are you planning to attend GaryCon? Yes. Yeah. Me and Nick will be there. And then we're bringing Chris and Johnny, who some of y'all might recognize from Booth Cruise past. We're gonna have a great time. I'm very excited about it. Thank you, Blaze. I'm just behind. That's all it is. But speaking of being behind, it's been 37 minutes, and I haven't done any reading. We've just been yapping. So what do y'all think about reading a little bit about the Winter Dark, and then maybe yapping some more? I'm running several things for C&C. Hell yeah, dude. We'll see you there. I'm going to be probably running around with a camera. So if you want to like ask your table if they're okay with pictures, and if you're okay with pictures, and then just give me a thumbs up when you see me run by with a camera, that would be so great, because I hate interrupting people's game to ask them if I can take pictures of their table, because I don't want to just take pictures of people. That's not kind to just like take pictures of people without asking. But I also don't want to like interrupt the game master's game to ask if I could take pictures of their table, because that feels so disrespectful. But that's the only thing you could do, is just walk up and like ask. So like I'm learning to be less awkward. Tell me what page so I can follow along with my copy. Yes, we're on page 257 of the Codex of Aihrde after Winter Dark, starting under the section called The War. We did prove that Richard Petty is better, by the way. It's the stash, man. Width over form, I guess. Sheer strength of stash. The constitution of the stash counts for a lot, you know? They would love for you to take pictures, just ask. Yeah. I've never had anyone be like mean to me about it, or, you know, anything like that. The thing that you're expecting when you're just like a person with maybe a little bit of social anxiety. Like you walk up to a table and you're like, can I take pictures? And in your mind, it's like, why would you ask that? Why would you walk up to our table and interrupt our game just to ask if you could take pictures? First of all, no, you can't. And second of all, we're so disappointed and we hate you forever. That's how I think it's going to go. And it's never how it goes. Everyone is super lovely and very, very kind. So all you can do is ask. Anyone that has a killer table build, I think, is probably very happy to have pictures taken of it. That is a super good point that I did not think about. But we're gonna read The Winter Dark. Last we left off, the Winter Dark was well underway. Dolgan the dwarf, who is kind of a slave of Unklar, the Horned God, has been doing his work in more ways than one. Unklar partnered with Dolgan to create a horrifying strain of beast called the Mogrel. And Unklar spent a really good portion of his power creating the Mogrel. And it left him in kind of like a weakened sort of state where he'd spent so much of himself like creating these horrible evil things. And it was the perfect time for Aird's handful of heroes to kind of step up and take advantage of this opening. So we had Daladon Half-Elven, who took advantage, and he showed up and rescued the goddess Wenifar, who had been trapped. She had been caught in a trap that was laid for her by Unklar since the start of the Winter Dark, really. And Daladon appeared and he freed her. And, you know, one thing led to another, and, you know, they got a little bit freaky and ended up having a child. monster. I don't know, a creature. They birthed a creature together. They sired a creature. I'm blanking on its name. Oh my goodness, I don't remember. But that's okay. They, Daladon and Wenifar, they did some stuff. There's Oritsar, who is a creation of Toth, who is himself the shadow of the Allfather. And Oritsar is kind of a beacon of hope among the people of Aihrde. It takes the form of this gallant, noble horse. And it travels and brings hope kind of wherever it goes, which is sorely needed in the days of the Winter Dark. What else happened? We learned a little... Oh, Utumno, by the way. Utumno was the name of Wenifar and Daladon's child. We learned a little bit about the culture of the people of Rohaizen Hola, who had been kind of sealed off from the rest of the world of Aihrde, and were victims to the sickness where they turned to stone in sunlight. So we learned a little bit about them. And really, Onglar is weakened. This is kind of the part of the story that we're in. Onglar has been weakened, and the rest of the people of Aihrde are getting fed up with this 1,000-year reign. So we are going to learn a little bit about the war and what follows. So get yourself a beverage, settle into whatever kind of task you want to do while we're reading the story here. There will be a little AMA afterwards. Steve won't be here, but I'll be here to answer some questions about Aihrde and world building. I'm not the creator of Aihrde, but I know some stuff. So if you have any questions, there'll be a time afterwards to ask them. Get yourself a beverage, get cozy, and we're going to read a story about a fantasy world not so far from ours. Trollza. As the war spread, Unglar's legions were beset upon all sides, for men left aside their plows and tools and took up arms. I'll take that off. The holy defenders of the flame revealed themselves and summoned Luther from beyond the dreaming sea. The paladin joined them with a company of knights, and the wars spread further in the south. The elves, too, marched from the Eldwood and the Darkened Fold, and drove out the legions of Unglar that occupied Keomar. Soon all of Ethram was engulfed in the flames of war, and Unglar's legions fell further back across the rivers of Maine. In this chaos, the Val Tolmith founded the Council of Light, and they worked in concert to destroy Unglar's hold upon the world. Their members included the White Mage, the Dreaming Paladin, Dolgan the Undaunted, and others beside. Val Tolmith, they're kind of like the demigods of Aihrde, people who were once mortal, but then elevated in some way through heroic deeds or something to a more state of godhood. The Northmen came to the lands of the Inner Sea. Descendants of the Engale of old, these people were fierce, and paid homage to gods of war and chance, and lusted for battle. Indeed, they worshipped many of the Val Ericune, and the Allfather as well. The Northmen broke through the fence of Orsal, passing by the ruins of Nurik's realm, and they conquered all the lands of the north, and made them their base. And to their amazement, they found many of their kin already dwelling there, in the poverty of darkness, for they had come there as migrants long ago. From there, they plunged south, following the waters and riverways to hound Unglar's folk wherever they could. When a great host of legions followed, Sorry, this sentence was structured funny. When a great host of legions followed the Lord of Sorrow into the east to destroy the realm of Ethlium, which had been founded by the refugees of Kaomar so long ago, they stripped the lands bare of soldiers. And this opened all to the plundering Engale, who laid waste to all the regions along the sea. As war spread through the lands of Anglame, the lords and merchants there found themselves without protection, so they formed armies of their citizens and hired mercenaries, and built castles and forts to guard their towns. The Lord of Sorrow fell in the end, defeated by the paladins of Ethlium, his army utterly destroyed. Only rumor of it ever came to the lands of Ursal again. The realm of Ethlium was laid to waste in the war, and those people removed themselves to return home. Remembered in legend and song. In a short span of years, they came to the lands of Ethram and carved out kingdoms for themselves. The victories in the west found echo throughout all the lands of Ursal, for Meltaug Lothian slew Melius and laid the castle of Spires bare. In time, Daladon, Meltaug's half-brother, came to the castle and opened the portals to the Seven Rivers. But, unbeknownst to him, a great host of the Fontanook, an elven army, at long last, returned to Aihrde. Girded for war and set upon vengeance all these long centuries, they spread death and chaos through Unklar's folk. Unklar sought to master his arms, but the Val Ericun, the major gods, Wenifar and Tefnut, assailed him. When the Council of Light stole the Krummervola and spirited away and hid it in the maelstrom, Unklar left off his throne and pursued them. In this he was undone, for Wenifar, garbed for war, joined with the might of Ayvet, and together they burned off the shroud of darkness. They laid the world bare, and the winter dark faded. At this, the dwarves rose in the Grundlik Mountains under their new king, Dolgan, who ruled as Aegon II. Many of his folk gathered from their scattered dwellings. They carried the war into the mountains, and with them marched a host of goblins led by Agmaur the Eldritch Goblin. And they carried the battle to the foe, and drove them from the mountains and into the plains. There, many of the Enochians in Unklar's army rebelled, following their general Albrecht, and that lord carved out a kingdom for himself in the lands around the Ogden River, and they called him the River King. Albrecht joined his mighty army to Dolgan's, and together they drove all the enemy from the north. With these victories, the empire dissolved, and all but a few abandoned Unklar, for they deemed his time was at an end. But lo, he returned to Aufstrag, and as he contemplated how to unseat his enemies, the world fell to fear. The White Mage would not have it so, and summoned the council, and they assailed the horned god in his throne room. Malazor, the one who started all this, came out from hiding and joined Unklar in the final battle. There, Aristobulus bested Malazor in a sorceress duel, a thing that had never happened before in all Malazor's long history. Beyond all hope, Sativa, an elven warrior woman who had lately joined the Council of Light, clove Unklar with the blade de Sephiroth, and released its spells of unmaking, and banished Unklar to the undeeps from whence he came. The world sighed, as if a great weight lifted from them. And so it was. Thus, Unklar's reign ended at last. We've got a page. The art is gorgeous. Yes. Oh my god, what's their last name? Zoe DeVos. Zoe DeVos did this art. Of the New Order. Oh wait, I skipped a header. The book is divided into orations, which each define an age of Aird's history. We have been reading through the 6th oration that is at an end. Now begins the 7th oration, After Winter Dark, being an account of the beginning of days after the fall of Unklar and the diminishment of Aufstrag, the rise of Keomar and New Enoch and all of the young kingdoms, held to be the last Rin before the Gonfod, the age of After Winter's Dark, the 7th Rin of the world. Of the New Order. In 1040 MD, before Unklar's banishment, a cohort of princes and nobles of southern Enoch gathered to throw off his yoke. They called themselves the Electors, and they chose and crowned the 30-year-old Prismira, Empress of Enoch. They took the ancient crown of the House Golden, the Cune Mundus Usquam, the cradle of the world, and set it upon her head, and many bethought that a new age had truly dawned. When Unklar came into being, he devoured the Wall of Worlds and vomited forth the Shroud of Darkness. During the long Winter Dark Wars, mighty Unklar fell, driven into the undeeps from whence he came. The power of Wenifar destroyed the Shroud of Darkness, and the unmaking of Unklar banished it, so that only a remnant of it hung about Aufstrag, fed by the ever-burning fires of that foul place. Unklar did nothing wrong. Unklar sympathizer. Get him. For the first time in many centuries, the light of Aihrde and Yvette, the moon and sun fell upon the world. The stars and the everlasting worlds hung in the heavens as well. And all was as it had been in ages past, but for the Wall of Worlds. As is told in the tales of the Winter Dark Wars, Wenifar used the power of Yvette to burn off the shroud, and as she did so, it rose into the heavens as a great steam. There Corthane sent forth the first wind, and gathered of it what he could, and this he cast about the world to guard it evermore against the void, and all that dwelt therein. Though the Wall of Worlds was never again as strong as it had been in the days of the world's youth, it stood again. The wall was in places faint, and upon these Corthane set the Rune Lords watching, so that any who might attempt to cross must, as of old, pass through his defenses. Thus, the wise were bound from the void, and many sought the power of the winter runes, as mastered by Malazor of old. Forever was it man's nature to improve his station, no matter how rash the action. Agile, thank you. Man, oh man, you're really sweet. The judgment of Corthane held. And men spoke that it would not lift until some hand, as yet unseen, removed Corthane's blade from the red god's chest, and Orndul returned to the world. Remember Orndul? Much of the ordering of Unklar remained. The binding of the sun and moon, their own worlds set as lights in the sky, and other diverse machinations were never undone. At the four corners, the horned god's power unraveled. But if the world unfolded to its original conception, who but the wise may say, but ever after, men perceived the world as round, and for them it was. Flat earthers, you're debunked. Aihrde is canonically round. A new order of gods came to Aihrde, and these were the Val Tolmith, powerful creatures risen to godhead by their own skills and by the faith of others. Their number was greater than the Val Austerlich, though never so great as the Val Ericune, of whom so many tales are told. Of all the wonders of Unclar's fall, the opening of the dwarf realm of Grundlich Hol men held the greatest. But the discovery and freeing of Rohisen Hol amazed many, for they were lost to all these many rin of the world. The stone dwarves trafficked with their kin in Norgorod Cam and Grundlich Hol, and there was peace amongst the three realms. Many kingdoms of man rose in the ruins of the old empires in the lands of Ethram and Enoch. These warred or made peace, as is the nature of such realms. The elves returned as well. Many of the Fontenouk came back to the wilderness of the Gelderland, there to build their lonely towers. The wood elves kept to the dark places of the forests, and the wild elves to the plains, but the high elves returned as well, and wandered without home. Strangest of all came of Utumno in the darkling of the twilight wood, for here were a race of elves dark of skin, who had lived out the long centuries of Unclar's rule. All the free peoples spread far and wide, building new realms on old foundations, and yet the world bore the imprint of Unclar's 1,000-year rule. The roads and calendar, all the other vestiges of his imperial rule survived. Many of his servants still crawled the earth in search of vengeance, seeking a way to bring back the Dark Age. Distance of time removed the pain of the horned god's rule, and the horror of the winter dark is recalled only by the very old. Aihrde lays a world filled with the promise of adventure and glory, of lost treasure and power arcane, and battle against dark things that linger in dark places, at least, until the red god should return, and the Gonfod at last begin. That is the Winter Dark. We finished it. We finished the Codex of Aihrde. We didn't read the whole thing from start to finish this time. We have done that twice. This time we just covered the Winter Dark Wars, but that's it. And that takes us to present day in Aihrde, or at least the kind of the present day that you pick up whenever you play any sort of like after Winter Dark branded product in the TLG store. Tweaks Dirt, welcome in. I'm just grateful to Trollord and all the help they have done for our after school program. I cannot sing the praises more. Oh man. Here's the thing. Doing the school club bundles is my favorite part about this job. So happy that we do that. And I hope that your students love it. Unless you're a student who is playing CNC, in which case, go to bed. But thank you so much. We love working with schools. We love working with teachers. It's literally the best thing ever. And teachers spend so much money, so much of their own money, and are not paid enough to do it, to like make their classrooms engaging and get fun materials for their students. So anything that we can do to like lessen the burden on teachers is like, we want to do it. The Red God. Luckily, Grace's soft voice alleviates our natural dread thereof. Well, thank you. I like Orndul. I really like Orndul as a character. Because Orndul's stance is that he doesn't want the world to end. Easy to get behind, right? But he is also just evil and crazy. I'm waiting to get my support for our teens program and veterans program. If you're waiting on a response for teens and veterans, are you just needing like a club bundle? I know that you're waiting on something from Steve, but veterans and teens, I can help you out. Shoot me an email at product support and we'll get you taken care of. But yeah, Orndul, the red god, I mean, his whole thing is that like so the Allfather had like a lot of children who became gods, but 3 of the most notable ones are Corthane, who's kind of the god of judgment, Mordias, who's kind of like the goddess of nature and all things green, and Orndul, the red god, who's like not the god of death and not maybe the god of evil. He could kind of be classified as like the god of evil, but yeah, just like greed and all sorts of stuff. Sorry if I missed it. How did Unklar circumvent Corthane's judgment? You're fine. You actually didn't miss it in this stream, Obsidian, but welcome in. Unklar. So everything about Unklar's origin was weird. He was not like consciously made by the Allfather the way that every other thing in the universe is, basically. Not everything, but most things. The Allfather was dreaming, and he had a nightmare. It was the first time he'd ever had a nightmare. And because everything that the Allfather does or thinks or says like gains form and becomes real, his nightmare crawled out of his ear, and the other gods came around and like looked at it, and they were weirded out and grossed out by it, and so they drove it into the very like furthest corner of the void, away from Aihrde and away from them and away from the light. And there is where it stayed. It was just like a stain upon the black. Fast forward many, many, many centuries and millennia, and there's a sorcerer who's named Malazor, and he is very proud and he's very ambitious, and he is looking for a way to like gather more power for himself. And really what he wants more than anything is to learn how to go out into the void where the gods are. And so he actually does this and succeeds, and he discovers like the rings of brass and like the winter runes that allow him to use them, and he steps out into the void and just kind of wanders for a while. And then eventually he finds Unklar. He finds this like stain upon the black and sees it out in the distance, and Malazor thinks that this is like a monster. He thinks that this is a beast that he can bring to heal and use to conquer the world. And in a way, he was right. And so Malazor goes back to his like tower in the world of Aihrde, and he begins working on like actually summoning Unklar. And that's kind of how like Unklar didn't come to Aihrde. He was summoned by a really proud human who thought that this was just like something that he could use. And no sooner had Unklar arrived on Aihrde than Malazor realized within moments how mistaken he was and what just the gravity of what he had just done. And from there, all of that, the rest of that stuff plays out. Malazor is imprisoned by Unklar, not the other way around, and Unklar goes on to rule Aihrde for 1,000 years. So that's how. Long story short, listen to Corthane. Don't poke the gods. Don't feed the gods. Leave the gods where they are. Let them do their thing. Let it be a closed ecosystem. Let them work it out. Unklar deployed his pocket sand and ran away. Hell yeah. Nothing that a little bit of pocket sand can't fix. I ended up getting the starter box as well. Just excited to get them GMing themselves. Oh shit, we spoke today. Yeah, oh my god, thank you for tuning in and watching. But yeah, I'm so excited for your students to get the starter box. The art in there fucking rules. It's so funny because oh my god, what's his name? Justin Gerard? Gerard Justin? I think it's not Gerard Way. I think it's Justin Gerard is the artist. There is a different company that is using the same cover image, like bought it fair and square from him for use on like their cover, and they are also like having like a big release of something called Oathbreaker with the same cover. And so there's a lot of Justin Gerard's art going around in the tabletop RPG space right now, and it's awesome. Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for asking. I love going on tangents about Aihrde and lore, so if you guys have any questions about the world of Aihrde, I might not be able to answer them, but toss them my way and we'll see. Getting them to Castle Keep for themselves is the dream. Yeah. Oh my god. And as a student, like, just like thinking back to how I was as a kid, like, that's so empowering to be able to like run a story for your peers. Like, what an exercise in like public speaking and creativity and improv and like logicking stuff out. It's just like a really, really good activity. Hey, Bob Uso, welcome in. One of us. Welcome back from month 8. Thank you so much for the sub. We super, super appreciate that. We don't really treat Twitch as like a moneymaker, but when people do subscribe to the Twitch channel, like, it lets us do a lot more stuff. Like, we use this money to kind of like fund more like stuff on Twitch and get more actual plays and like pay talent and all sorts of stuff. So like, it super helps us. Oh my god, Agile. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving that sub to Joe Serious. We really appreciate it. I mean it. That's very well timed. It makes a really big difference for us, and we really appreciate it. Though we never expect it. Gang. I'm running them through Broken Weave and potentially have more kids. That's awesome. That's so great. Yes, I ordered 6 starter boxes to give away as prizes for veterans and teens. That's gonna rock. They are gonna love that. And also, thank you. That's so cool. The mythology of Aihrde has that nice inbuilt theological, philosophical balance, in my opinion. Maybe Steven could have just picked fewer names directly from our Earthian culture's geography. He has like a few different like well, first of all, yeah, it's funny that there's like Maine. Maine exists in Aihrde. God, what else? There's a lot of stuff named after like his kids and like people that he knows and all sorts of stuff in Aihrde, which, like, what a dream, right? Like, if you're gonna publish a setting, I would do the same. Just put in a bunch of like God, what's that called? Easter eggs, like in the setting, referring to like other stuff. TLG Patreon is really getting good. Jeremy is rocking it. Yeah, we structured our Patreon, and it's awesome now.
Yeah.
Who's that? No, you're perfect. You're perfect. I was just nosy.
Oh, it's Chris and Krusty.
Oh, cool. Is Aihrde a good setting to start them? I'm trying to think of settings for them as well. I think so. I think Aihrde is a really good setting to start playing in. There's just a lot of detail for it. So like, if you have an answer for if you have like a question about something, it's easy to find an answer. But yeah, I think it's a great setting to start playing in. As Agile Monk, I work to prove my agility by being on Twitch and YouTube. Cross-platform interaction. Does Aihrde celebrate Easters too? They should. They don't celebrate Easter, I'm sure, but there are like all sorts of little like spring fests, I would imagine. And Aihrde has so much supporting material. Yeah, all of like the little mini codex expansions, those are so helpful. I used the Codex of the Darkenfold to write the adventure that I'm now running on Tuesdays, and it made everything so easy for me. It was awesome. Aihrde is a fun setting to write in too. Like there's just so much like little plot stuff to kind of like pull at, but it's a super good time. I thought that I had like a thought and I forget what it was. I was saying something and I don't remember what it is. Damn, it's like gone. My little group of military veterans are creating a new CNC setting with factions, cults, societies, etc., with maps and adventures all included. That is so cool. Keep us updated. Come back and like tell us more, because that sounds awesome. Is it like, I imagine it's like a fantasy setting. Is there anything that you can share with us for now? World building is super fun as a group. Don't even get me started. Oh my god, yes. Group world building is so much fun. We built a group of friends, like we built a setting called Terminus together, and I mean it's still like that's one of my favorite memories of like gaming, is sitting around the table and like crafting this setting all together. It was so much fun. Steve said I need to reach out for help with our teens gaming program. Yes, I can definitely help you. Reach out on product support and we'll get you sorted with that. Super easy peasy. I'm about to begin my first CNC campaign as a CK. Been reading the Codex of Aihrde like one obsessed to immerse myself in the setting, hopefully to ultimate gaming group fruition. I keep my fingers crossed for you, my friend. You can't pick a better setting than Aihrde. I mean, like, I know that I'm biased, and I know that I like work for the company that publishes it, but before that, I showed up to Gary Con alone with this guy named Rick Ankney, who was living in my city, and we just met, and he was working in tabletop RPGs, and I wanted to work in tabletop RPGs. And so he said, come with me to Gary Con in 2 weeks. There's some people that I want you to meet. And I like took the chance and accompanied this man that I didn't know to Gary Con. And he like introduced me to the Troll Lords. And like this was one of the first things that they like had me doing, that like Steve asked me to do, was run a stream on Mondays where we read the Codex of Aihrde and we read the lore together and we just work our way through it. And I have so many like memories at this point. Like I've lived in different places, I've lived in different cities, like reading through the Codex, and like there's just something so special about this world. I really, really believe that. In fact, maybe this is cringy. I haven't really talked about it very much on the Trollord Games channel, or at least in a while, but I have been in the past a poet, and I haven't written much poetry lately, but I did write a poem for Aihrde. And if it's cool with you guys, I would like to read it. Just, I don't know, Aihrde to me represents this place where two things can always be counted on. Always, at all times. Something good will happen and something bad will happen. In Aihrde, always. Those two truths are always true. Thank you, Rick, for bringing me to the man of Agile. Thank you. Thank you. I'll totally agree with that. I ran something based on the Ozark Hills for Hunter the Reckoning, and I really had a lot of fun just coming up with all kinds of wild things to do on one of campus. Yeah. Man, the Ozarks, that's a great setting. You're right, I wouldn't call Aihrde overdefined. There's just like lots of stories about it. But they're just that, stories, and they're referred to as stories, and how true or false they are, it's not really defined. I really appreciate you sharing the Codex of Aihrde with all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you for listening. Your time is really valuable. Y'all could be doing anything. So, like, thank you for hanging out with me and listening. But, yeah, let me read this poem really quick. Grace can be found on YouTube doing poetry. That's true. I see you tracked down my YouTube. But this poem is called After the Winter Dark because, you know, of course, that's our branding. So, yeah. The people here have lost everything. Their world trembles, unbelieving of the sudden quiet, a layer of dew glazing over all that was broken. What do you call such unnameable tenderness? They turn their faces to the sun that was hidden from them, disbelieving. The future had never been kind before. They ask, is this another trick? The sun simply warms their faces, a caress after centuries of winter's lashing. They raise their tired arms. They do not yet dare to smile. They hold springtime in palms that shake, offering breathless gratitude as their world becomes an altar, a joining. Hope and fear stand before the people, holding each other. One says to the other in a whisper, never again this cleaving. Wherever you go, I will follow. So that's my little poem about Aihrde. I've been doing a lot of like gaming poems recently. I did one for Link and Ganon from the Legend of Zelda series. But that was my Aihrde poem. Because I don't know. Aihrde is really inspiring, and it's really that marriage of like hope and fear together as two things that love each other. That's Aihrde to me. If any of your teens or veterans enjoy poetry, well, yeah, Blaze, thank you for the shout out. I've only spoken in classroom. No, actually, so I used to speak in classrooms a lot. Most recently, I've done it digitally like twice. It was super fun. Classrooms are great. And oh my God, Sweeper, thank you so much. Welcome back from month 17, my friend. Thank you. Bruh, it's been a while. The history prof, how's it going? Hello. How are you? How's your daughter? How's your wife? How's everything? I think we are going to go ahead and wrap it up here in like just a minute. But if y'all have any like world building questions or any Aihrde questions, any poetry questions, like toss them my way. But otherwise, I think we're going to go ahead and probably toss a raid to some friends here. Daughter just turned 12. Oh, my heart. That's so sweet. Happy birthday. Happy birthday from all the trolls to you. We wish it was our birthday so that we could have a feast of human flesh. Yay. Happy birthday. How did you celebrate? Was it fun? I'm sure it was. Every time I look at the giant bee that I got at GameholeCon that year, it makes me think of like meeting you guys. We went to see Tyler the Creator in concert. That's so cool. That sounds awesome. Thanks for doing the hangout. Dude, Chaotic Grandpa, thank you so much for hanging out. I super appreciate it. And all of you guys that have been hanging out. Hey, Agile, thank you so much for gifting that sub to Cosum. Thank you. I really mean it. It super duper helps. It makes a really big difference for us when people like subscribe on Twitch. More than you'll know. It's a huge deal. So thank you so much. For the poetics, do we snap with the fingers? Yes. And here's the thing. So I do like spoken word poetry. That's kind of like my background. It's not just after the poem. It's during the poem. If I'm standing on stage and I'm doing a poem and I say something that you like even a little bit, I want you to like scream at me as loud as you can. That's kind of the energy that we're looking for with spoken word poetry, is to be like snapped at and yelled at and like get up and stomp your feet. Like, we want it rowdy in spoken word poetry. But it's been a while since we've had like a real stage, you know. But let's see, who do we want to raid? I think that we probably want to roll into Swole Initiative. It looks like they are just getting started with their stream, so if you want to like hang out for a minute. But they are a fantastic channel, such great people. They do some really, really cool stuff. So we're gonna go say hi. If you have a minute, beatnik poetry. I want to go to Chicago, man. That's where like beat poetry really started. I've heard. Chicagoans have told me. But let's go. We'll hang out. And thank you all so much again for like spending your evening with me. I said it before, but like your time is really valuable, and you could have spent your Monday night doing anything in the world. It means a lot. Like as a streamer, I'm prepared to always like stream to 0 people, because people could spend their time doing anything. So thank you for like coming and hanging out. It's the best part of my week. You guys just like made my week. So I'll be live again same time tomorrow with the game that I'm running. It'll be super fun. And we're gonna raid, so go in peace, make the words, do good. I will see you next time, and thank you guys so much again.